Hey everyone, so this is an overlap between two of my other series. So we're going to do a quick review of several assets, only like 1 or 2 minutes each because they really don't merit their own individual videos. And I am basically evaluating them in the context of whether or not I could use them in my RPG hero diner game because as I said, the draw is to have lots and lots of different hero classes show up, and so I need to purchase assets. So went on a little bit of a shopping spree earlier and purchased some assets. I figured we could review them together. In case these are assets that you ever look at, you'll have some insight into them. Okay, so let's do a quick review of what we've got. We'll review them in game and then a few wrap up thoughts concerning the Hero Diner. So, Priestess by Clayman Studio. Oh, and all of these I haven't purchased anything prior to this, so this is my first purchase for these publishers. So Clayman Studio looks like it is just about 3 years old, and so that is a potential warning sign, and that is just over 13 megabytes, 13 and a half megabytes. And now lich or lick, I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it. It's one of those words that you see all the time, but I don't know if I've ever actually heard anyone say. This one by Lil Pupendai, and this one is also really new, about 2 weeks old, 58 megabytes. Got Nemesis, this by Elziane. This one's also really new, much bigger, about 300 megabytes. Anime character Shion by Dai Young Jiang. Sorry, probably pronouncing that wrong. And this one looks to be about 4 or 5 months old and about 20 and a half megabytes. Now, one thing I want to mention is you can obviously see one of the problems. The art style on this one is very different, much more cartoonish, much more polygonish, rather than more photorealistic. So only under certain circumstances can you usually get away with having conflicting visual styles like that. Like if you think of the movie Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the different Spider-Man were drawn in a different style, but that was a very narrow reason why it worked. So like there was the noir Spider-Man was all in like shades of gray. The anime Spider-Girl, she was drawn like an anime character. Peter Porker was drawn in the WB style, so on and so forth. So it is possible to have like conflicting styles, but I don't think that generally works for a game. Um, Occasionally, like I think with like the most recent when they redid Tomb Raider, I think that you could actually get um, models that looked like the old clunky models. So under certain circumstances you could do that, but I don't think it'd work in this particular game. Anyways, kind of going off on a tangent, but that's one of the challenges is trying to have a consistent visual art style when you're purchasing from multiple publishers. So I don't even know if any of these or if some of them will even make it into the final game. So we'll see. Cybergirl by Anchiris. This one is also really new, brand new. As of today, I believe it was just released today, March 1st, and about 300 megabytes. And as a quick one off realistic toaster, this is actually free from SnowQ, so you can just go to the Unity store, click on add to my assets. You don't have to put in any kind of purchase information. So if your game needs a toaster, you can download it from SnowQ. That is definitely being added to the game. I don't think I covered that in the last video. So like if you make like a BLT, you have to cook the toast first. So since cooking the toast on the stove seemed weird, I added a toaster. Okay, so let's take a look at these. So Cybergirl, and in all these cases, I'm just going to use the demo. I don't think there's really a need to bring the prefabs and create my own scene because this isn't meant to be like a full implementation video. We're just kind of evaluating them. So, minor pet peeve. There's 3 here, but only 1 here. That's telling me that they're on top of each other. Why do that? Why not just take the 30 seconds to do what I just did? But that's nitpicking. But still, attention to detail would be nice. The models themselves, I can see, look great. And I definitely think I would want to use these if I go with this kind of realistic style. Or at least, maybe I shouldn't say realistic, more detailed style. Let's run it. Yep, they have like a slight idle animation and then they'll cycle through the other ones. This works out good because I was intending on having there being three variations of each one to begin with. So since I want there to be three variations, they gave me three variations. So that's good. One thing I want to mention is this one does have like a very light LED on the face. It might be hard to see. Probably would need a darker scene. But in the Unity store, this is like really glowing. So they probably added like post-processing or something. So be mindful of that, that what you see is not necessarily what you get. And there's ones too where you'll see like idle animations and then it'll say no animations included. Really can't stand the fact that some of them do that. Yes, they're telling you there's no animations, but then they shouldn't be showing you an animation. So anyways, I think this is great. I think that is something that would be usable, presuming I am going with the more high detailed model. So that was Cybergirl. For some reason, these take a different approach as far as naming. These are the names of the packages. This one is the name of the publisher. I kind of like this approach instead, particularly if you have to give credit to who created something. It's easier to keep track of who did what. So we'll go into here and we'll go into scene, sample scene. Yes, we'll save that because they didn't need to be overlapped like that. So it looks like there's two, so I'd have to come up with a third one, which is fine. I have things like scythes and sickles, so maybe I could have like another one like this and just put the sickle on his back or put like a crown on his head. So this one looks great. Again, there's really no need to do a full review. Standard animations. I think this one would definitely be usable. Now, I said coming up with three versions, but this guy's really menacing, so maybe he would be a boss, so I would only need one version of him. Um, because if he's a boss, there's not going to be three versions. Okay. I still have to decide how the bosses are going to work. There's been some great ideas put in the comment section about maybe the bosses you intentionally give the wrong food to so they lose their battle, that kind of thing. That's for later to decide. That's going to be the more advanced gameplay. This is purely evaluating characters, so I definitely think this is something I could put into the game. And he doesn't have to be a boss. He could be like a Death Knight or something like that. Okay, so that looks great. No complaints. Nemesis. So for this one, jury's still out because for this one, they have no animations of any kind. They do give you a lot of variety, but here's the thing. See these wings? I'm not quite sure how you would animate the wings because if you're using Mixamo, which many people do, I would have to see if they even have like a winged animation. If not, then you might have to do this manually. Um, so kind of putting a pin in this one as far as whether or not this one's usable. We certainly can give you a closer look. Let's just spin this around because again, for some reason, the camera is in the wrong place. The camera is behind them instead of front of them. And let's just run this. So they look fine. They're detailed, but again, no animation. So jury's kind of out as to whether or not this would be usable. Maybe I'll do a separate video for this one, but I've already done a tutorial for Mixamo. I don't want to like spam you guys with the same thing over and over again. So we'll put a pin in this one as far as whether or not this is usable. It looks fine, no missing textures, but not animated. And recently I've had trouble from one publisher who their stuff just did not want to animate, and I haven't heard from them in about a week now. So we'll see. We'll come back to this one. Not in this video though. Okay, so that's Nemesis. No missing textures, but not animated. All right, so Nemesis of Priestess. So this is the one that we said was really old. So we go to demo. Don't save. All I did was move the camera. So now this character is not animated. They're just like in this still position. However, this is one of the great things about having a consistent rigging. And that is if you have two models that have the same rigging, such as humanoid, you can apply animations from one to the other. So currently this one has no animations. But up here where it says controller, I'm going to add the animator, this one that says new animator. We haven't reviewed this one, but this one is for Shion, I believe. That's the one that is kind of more cartoonish. Well, we're going to use Shion's animator. Watch what happens. Just like that, you now have an animation. Whether them running with the staff like that makes a lot of sense is a different matter. And there's clipping through the leg. But my point is that you went from something that's not animated to something that is fully animated because you're able to apply another set of animations just by using the animator controller. So that's very important to know that you're not necessarily stuck, that you don't necessarily have to create whole new animations. You might be able to apply another character's animations. So I would probably change that. I'd probably put this on their back or something. That way they're just kind of jogging in place. And that's just one animator. You could use a different one. So that one looks like that is passable. I didn't see any missing textures. We were able to animate it using another animator, so I think that one is good. And then we go to Shion. So I probably should have done this in the other order, show you Shion first. So we'll go here. I don't have to save that. I know what I did. Now this one gives you a little bonus. This one actually has a full third-party controller. So if you run this, okay, I'm doing that with the mouse. So they actually give you a third-party controller, which is kind of nice. She's turning as I hit the buttons and doesn't jump with the space. Typically, jump would do space. So, but yeah, so this one gives you like a full third-party controller. So if we go to her animator, so yeah, see default, the default layer, the layer default, excuse me, the layer default state is locomotion. We could do something like idle. Now, what I notice is that idle works, but it's really, really subtle. It's basically like just like their arm is moving ever so slightly. I didn't even notice it first, so I don't know if that was intentional. If so, it's not a great animation. But again, Mixamo, you can add a new idle animation to it. So that one I would also say is passable. Okay, so I think that's it for this video. So that was some rapid fire asset reviews. I'll probably put them in the description. And yeah, so I think that's about it. So as you can see, it's still working on the RPG Hero Diner. Hoping to get it into early access. And the idea is that once I have enough gameplay in place, I'll put it on itch.io. I'll flag it as early access. There'd be like a minimum price, something low, but there would be a price. And anyone who's wishing to support the project, you could purchase it at that price, or if you so chose, above, and then those resources would be used to purchase more assets because as you can see, I am purchasing assets. I know that there's been a lot of times that people have been burned on Kickstarter like that, where people promise the world and then run away with, what they've had, with what they collected. But as you can see, I really am purchasing assets for this project. So, anyways, that's for the future to decide what I'm gonna do with that. Anyway, so I hope you found this informative, and please do enjoy the rest of your day.